All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get this demonstration of the Forsyth County Neighborhood Opportunity Atlas underway. We appreciate everybody attending both virtually and in person. For the virtual folks, we've went ahead and muted everyone just so we can cut out any background noise and things like that. We will have a time for questions and answers, those kind of thing, later in the program. Again, I just want to welcome everybody to this really unique and awesome opportunity to demonstrate some of the work that is coming out of Forsyth County government. I am Joseph Sloop. I was the formal Geographic Information Officer, now the Deputy CIO with Forsyth County. And I've been asked to just give a quick history on how this whole thing came about. And so first, I need to say thank you to the many folks involved in this project. First and foremost, Forsyth County Commissioners for giving us support, adopting budgets and things like that for us to be able to move forward with this kind of a project. I want to thank the Spatial Justice Studio. I'll talk a little bit more about them and their partnership with us. The employees of MapForsyth, amazing group of folks. And then the Forsyth County Manager's Office. Again, thank you for all your support, encouragement, and guidance on this project. So, about a decade ago, in our office, we do computer mapping. And we've been working on a couple of different projects. We were asked to look at different things going on throughout the county. And I had an employee call me in his office. We have dual monitors. And he said, come look at this. And he had maps up on the screen. I said, yeah, it's the same map. And he's like, no, this is variable A and this is variable B, and they're happening in similar spots within the county. And being geographic, we said, well, what else is happening? So we started going through all these different variables. And at one point, I think we're up to 26 different variables that we were looking at. A lot of the data, again, coming from in-house departments. And so, again, we had great data, great partnership with all the different organizations. And what came of that was more of a PowerPoint presentation for folks, just letting people know, hey, these are the different things that are happening in the county. This is kind of where they're happening. Later, it evolved from PowerPoint to PDF, and we started to include more demographic information around those different areas. Evolved a little bit more. We had a lot of nonprofits and other organizations, other government organizations needing the data to apply for grants. And so we would kind of do these one-off reports for them and things like that. So in working with management, we decided, hey, you know what? We really need to make this accessible to all, to citizens, to other departments, to anyone who wants this data and information. And it needs to be easy to use. Like everything else is going web-based. And so we decided that was our next step, make this application a web-based application. That way folks can get to it 24/7. And we wanted it to be very easy and user-friendly. In comes Spatial Justice Studio. So we put out a call looking for folks who could help us with this and ideas. And so we have Dr. Russell Smith in the meeting today too. He leads the Spatial Justice Studio, part of the Center for Design Innovation, a wonderful partnership between School of the Arts and WSSU. And so we've partnered with them. And that's what we have today is, Neighborhood Opportunity Atlas, what I call 2.0. Moved away from the PDFs and PowerPoints, and now we have this amazing website. And some history, a little bit about that is he's also included a lot of local students to help develop this website. And so it's given them a lot of opportunities to work on these amazing projects. Again, just, we've been doing this for a long time. We're very proud of this product. It actually won an award for being one of the best websites. I think Dr. Smith, correct me on that one, but we did win an award for the website presence. And I'm going to turn the time over to David Torn. He is a GIS project manager with MapForsyth to do the actual demonstration of the application and handle and take any questions that folks may have. David?
All right, I'm going to switch over to the actual application. And first of all, my name is Dave Torn. I am in MapForsyth. I'm a GIS project manager. I've been working closely with Russ and with the rest of MapForsyth to get this thing put together. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on this. Just a couple things first, like where's the site at? How do you get to it? You know, super simple stuff. So a couple ways. The site is fcnoa.org, and it's a public site. It's been out there for a while now, so you can get to it that way. The other website that you might want to jot down if you're not familiar with it, a lot of you may be, is just MapForsyth.org, and that's our departmental website. And so from here, you can see the neighborhood opportunity atlases there also. So you don't have to memorize both, one or the other. And this isn't really a thing for going through everything in the MapForsyth does. But if you're at the site, check out all our most popular web applications, tax parcel viewer, planning app. You know, we handle all the addressing for the county and city and municipalities surrounding. So there's that. The other tab I would point you to is the staff. You can see Shaylee Bowens, our GIO information officer. She couldn't be here today. But on our projects team, this is me, David Torrance. So if you have any questions about the site or about MapForsyth or basically about anything related to GIS, let me know. Jason Flodfelter is also good, and any addressing type questions, you can send to Matthew Handy there. So just want to point that out. So Joe did a great job doing the background, so I'm not going to go into that too much. I just want to kind of give you all a tour of the site and show you what it can do. For those of us online, I do apologize. I can't see any chat questions when I'm sharing my screen, so I will check any questions when I'm done with this. But other than that, it's very informal. Feel free to interrupt me. I'm just don't have a whole lot, you know, written down plan. I'm just going to kind of go through the site for you guys. So, but this is the site, the homepage. Scroll down a little bit, just a little bit about it. Who should use it? The one thing I wanted to point out here is the user's guide. You can also get to that from this top corner up here. So if you click on that, and if you see something here today, I show you something, or you say, I think the site could do that. I don't remember how. You can always check out the user's guide here. It's PDF. You can download it if you want to, but it's pretty in depth. So do have that. Okay, and then also just a couple of little things, the about here, just some goals, again, the user's guide, the team, and the appendix. I did want to point the appendix out. You guys may not ever use this or want to use this, but if you want to get kind of in the weeds a little bit on how these variables were pulled, the sources, how the statistical analysis was done. I mean, this goes way in depth with all of that for every variable in here. So if you're ever interested in that stuff, I just want to make you aware that that's there also.
Hey, Dave, this is Russ. Can I ask a quick question?
You can ask all the questions you want, Russ.
Well, no, I appreciate you guys doing this and excited and more than happy to field any questions that people have.
Sure.
I'll be here. I got about 30 minutes and I've got to go teach my last class of the semester, so I apologize for ducking out early. But as you might know, I'm virtual. I can't see the website. I only see you. And I don't know if that's just a me issue or other people
Okay.
online are also not seeing the website.
Okay, I'm gonna not
Russ
stop
can't
sharing
ask
and then reshare. And you can tell me if that fixes it. Share my screen. Can you see it now, Russ? Can you see it?
I see
I'm
it,
going
Dave.
to work on something on my end. People say they can see it. Thank you. Okay, appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Russ. Just want to make sure everybody can see what I'm doing here. All right. And then also up here, before we get into the actual website, the contact information, there's a form here. If you're interested, you can fill it out and kind of get on a mailing list, get any updates, provide any feedback. This is a multi-year project. We're in year 2. We're wrapping up year 2, but we're going on to year 3. And we're always looking for ideas for new variables to keep track of. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, feedback, this is the place to do it. So as far as the site itself goes, you navigate it by looking by this top bar here, and we're looking at over, I think I counted them before I came in here, over 40 something different variables. everything. We split those out into several categories: access infrastructure, built environment, justice and social capital, economic well-being, education, health and wellness, and some county trends. And we'll look a little bit at all those things. So, and data details and track packs we'll look at a little bit later. But just to kind of show you what this site's about, if you go to access infrastructure, for example, all of these are individual separate maps. So if you click on health insurance, for example, percent of residents without health insurance in 2019, for example. And there's a pop-up when you hover over it. You can see the bluer the area is, the better it is in relation to the average of the county. The redder it is, the worse it is in relation to the average of the county. So if you look at this, just pick one at random. Overall in the county, 10.7% of people are without health insurance. In this particular census tract, only 0.4% of people are without health insurance. And so you can look at all the census tracts like this. Scroll down, there's a little more demographic information, total population, some racial breakdowns, some educational breakdowns also there. So if you go to one of these ones up here, again, 10.7% in the county is without health insurance. 25%, almost over a quarter of the people are without health insurance for some reason in the census tract. So grocery stores, average distance to the nearest grocery store, and you'll see maps like this a little bit on some of these variables, and this kind of points a picture that it's more urban in the center and more kind of rural on the outside. So out here, overall in the county, a particular resident is an average of about 8,500 feet from the nearest grocery store. In this census tract up here, it's like 28,000 feet, so miles away. So this comes into play with like food deserts and things like that. But again, downtown here, the average distance is 1,500 feet, so within walking distance. So that's a good thing. Same thing with distance to. I'm not going to go through all these variables. I'm going to kind of pick and choose. If there's one you want to see, let me know. Distance to park is kind of the same way as that. Internet subscriptions is interesting. Percent of households without internet subscriptions in 2019. Broadband availability, personal transportation. So that's some of the access infrastructure variables. Under built environment, there's a lot of stuff under there. And again, most of this stuff came from the Census Bureau. We pulled census information and joined it to the census tracts. Some information that did come from internal departments. We got stuff from the tax administration department. We got things from environmental health, from public safety, places like that. So, and a lot of the justice and social capital with crime rates and whatnot, we got from Winston-Salem PD, the sheriff's office, Kernersville. So a lot of things that came together to get us all these variables. Under built environment, you got things like tree canopy, what percentage of the census tract is covered in trees. So, I mean, just a wide range of variables out there. Overall in the county, 55% of the land is covered in trees. In this tract, 74%, so almost 3/4 is trees. Which, I mean, this isn't that surprising. You get downtown with all the buildings and everything, and you have less tree cover. Only 22% there. So. Residential land, percent of land that is residential. I got things all over the place there. Home values. Home values is a good one. You'll see there's definitely a trend on the western part of the county that the values of the homes are a little bit higher. Although it's not that much different. You don't see the dark reds in here. Residential housing age. Mortgage and rent burden, property condition, code and zoning violation, foreclosures, mortgage and tax foreclosures. Justice and social capital. We have, this is where most of the crime rates information is. We have census mail returns where censuses were mailed out and not returned. Incarceration rates, crime rates. Voter participation is interesting. The percent of registered voters that actually voted in the 2020 general election. You can see on average, 81% of everybody that was registered to vote voted in the election. In this particular tract, 91% did. But you have some of these tracts over here, which still, I mean, you have over 50% turnout, but with the average is 80, and that tract has 51%. maybe you could do some outreach and encourage people to vote out there. Economic well-being, again, we have poverty rates, SNAP food stamp participation, income inequality, unemployment rates. Education, we have third grade reading levels, EOG math scores, general school performance, high school dropout rates. For example, EOG scores. And again, you'll see generally with the school stuff, it's generally better on the western part of the county. But you do see areas that are good other places also. Health and wellness, we have disability, percent of residents that are disabled, and infant mortality. So county trends is one of the most interesting things. All these maps here, the one thing they have in common is it's just a snapshot. Residential housing age, for example, it's always in typically 2019 or 2020 because that's the latest data we had. And that's one thing we're going to do as we move this project into the future is add more years to this. But the county trends has we're looking at longitudinal variables, so we're looking at variables over time. A lot of times it's 2013 through 19 or 2013 through 2020. But if you look at say foreclosure changes, so these are actually changes. This is, I think, where some of the power of this website comes into play, because if it's a nonprofit or a government agency or an organization and say, okay, we're going to do this program and we're going to try and improve this in this part of the county. And you can see it say, okay, well, this is what it looked like in 2019. Let's go back and look at it after that program's been implemented. Did it make any difference? Was it effective? And you can actually see those hard numbers and kind of justify what you're doing. So see, change in foreclosure rates have actually gotten better throughout the county from, let's see, when was this? From 2013 to 2020, change in foreclosure rates per 1,000 homes. So, I mean, it's not really bad anywhere. Things have gotten a lot better. In 2013, about 91 houses per 1,000 were foreclosed in the census tract, whereas in 2020, there weren't any foreclosed on. So I think there are success stories here too, and we try to focus on those, not just the bad things, but also the good things. Success highlights, for example. These are the good things to focus on in each census tract. In this case, red doesn't mean bad; it just means a certain variable. High elementary school performance. There's always something good in census tracts. Low disability rates here. Low income inequality. High home ownership rates, for example. So the flip point of that, we have opportunity highlights also. So it's like, we wanted to improve this census tract. What's one of the things we can focus on? When the reds here, for example, education, low EOG reading scores, for example. Housing is in below average condition in that tract. So kind of see what's going on in the county a little bit. Let's see, poverty changes. And poverty changes, there's some successes and some challenges here. You can see from 2013 to 19. Some areas poverty's gotten better, quite a bit better. Like this downtown area went from 70% to 38%. Obviously there's still work to do, but it's things are improving, right? Same thing, the opposite holds true in some tracts also. Went from 10% to almost 30% there. So those are a lot of the variables broken down into the categories. I do want to show you tract facts also. So if you're interested in a tract, if you know the tract you live in, and there's a way to find that also, and I'll show you that in a minute.
Hey, Dave, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
I apologize. This is Russ again. Well, I can see the map now. Thanks for all the advice from everybody in the chat. The one thing I just wanted to mention to make sure that people on the call understood is I think and you're doing a great job. Really appreciate you laying it out there for people. Is the power of the data is the fact that you have access to raw data, which I know you're going to get to, and you can see it even what's highlighted right now on the screen, the raw numbers. But what we tried to do for all these variables, raw data only tells you so much. So these scales you see are comparing what is a tract's average for a variable compared to the county average. So you're getting some perspective of how better off or worse a track is to what's going on in the entire county. And I think that way all groups can use it to pinpoint real challenges at these micro geographies of the census tract. So we're not just saying, oh, okay, well, the number's 20 and the one next to it's 10, and so 20's got to be bad. Well, if the county average is 30 and you're 20, well, that's actually maybe okay. So having that perspective and not looking at what the state or national average is for something, I think really lends power to the tool that we've developed here, and all the great work that MapForsyth has done to provide the data and verify and check everything. So that's what those numbers mean in terms of this kind of scale we've used between the red and blue on those maps under all the different headings of access and built environments and justice and economic well-being. Is if it, you get bluer is better and redder is worse comparative to the county average after everything is standardized. So I didn't mean to muddy the water, or hopefully I didn't speak too over people's heads or anything, trying to keep it simple here. But I think that's a really powerful point. So thanks for letting me just mention that.
Yeah, no problem, Russ. Thanks for the clarification. No problem. Okay, so just a couple more things I want to show you on the site. We're almost there. We have tract facts, and so this will break down the county and it'll show you all the census tracts. And so there's a couple ways you can find information about the tract. If you were looking at one of these maps and say, oh, I want to find out more about this tract here, you can come here and say, okay, well this is 3105, census tract 3105. So under here we have PDF maps of every census tract in the county. So I can say, oh, well, here's 3105. Here's what I'm interested in. And so here we have downloadable PDFs if you want to. I'll zoom in a little bit, but you can see the actual geographic area with the roads and streets there. You can see some key data, education, race, ethnicity, gender information. You can see key landmarks, major roads, things like that. So that's can give you a little more information on a particular census tract if you're wanting more information. If you scroll down further, this is a fairly new feature. You can find your census tract, because who wants to look at this map and memorize that, and then come down here and then memorize this and click on that. This actually will take you to a slightly separate site, find your census tract. And so here you can zoom around, you can click on it, you can double click on the map. So I'll just double click, but you can you can search for an address there, but it'll tell you right there. This is the block group and tract that you're in. You're in 1601. Okay. But not only that, it'll give you quite a bit of other information, your zip code, what school districts, the township you're in, some political information, your state house and Senate district, congressional district, etc. So that's just a quick way you can say, well, I'm interested in this address or this house or this part of the county. So you can come here and quickly say, okay, well, this address I'm interested in is in this tract, 1601. And then you could simply go back to 1601 up here and click on it. Right. So that was tract facts. Data details can be useful. What it does is most of these variables, it's great, but it's, really it's like 35 different maps you're looking at one at a time. So if you wanted to kind of compare those all together, it's not really feasible to put all those layers on top of each other, because it's just going to look like a jumbled mess. But what you can do is come to this data details, and you can select a tract that you're interested in. Select one at random. Click OK there. And what that'll do is that'll bring back, I think it's all the variables or almost all the variables, just side by side. And it'll show you the census tract level. So this is the number for the census tract, and then this is the overall county level. So you can kind of compare to see if it's better or worse. It's kind of in a tabular format. And then based on Russ and Spatial Justice Studio's analysis, whether it's considered to be statistically significant, like what's enough difference from the average in the county to warrant a closer look. And so this is a kind of a spreadsheet pivot table type thing. And you can also download this as an Excel form if you want to. So there's that also. Any questions, comments so far? Okay. Yes, sir.
So upkeep with this data done.
Well, it depends on the data source. It really depends. We try to get the latest and greatest. Some of the data is it's a little bit older, some of it's newer, some of it's, like I said, internal. So as the time goes on, you know, as when we designed the site, it was the most current we could get. And so that's one of the things we're going to do as time goes on is number one, keep those snapshots updated with the latest data. But number two, instead of 2013 to 19 changes, it'll be 2013 through 2020 or 21. So we can kind of see as things. And also maybe snapshots per year also is one thing we're thinking about looking at too. So instead of just seeing the difference between 13 and 20, you know, maybe see the incremental changes too. So that's one thing we're thinking of maybe implementing. So, okay. Well, I think that's all I had. Anybody have anything else? Yes.
Thanks. Okay. It included 2020 data and said that, you know, growth, that's also COVID times and moratoriums were in place in that year. So that's a little scary in a way. Like, is there a way to incorporate some of that, just general information about interpreting the data?
That's a good possibility. I will check with Russ on that and we can maybe talk about that.
Dave, Dave, can you repeat the questions, please, so those online know the question and then answer it?
Yeah, sorry, Chantel. So the one question the gentleman had over here was, you know, the currentness of the data. You know, is it updated every year? You know, every time the census is done. And so I just answered that we get the latest and greatest that we can, and that's one of the processes we're going through. It is a multi-year project, is continually getting new data. And then the lady over here asked, like with the foreclosure map we're looking at right here, you know, you can interpret this thing in different ways because with COVID there were a lot of restrictions on place on foreclosures and things like that, and just take some of those outside factors into account as far as interpretation. So I said that's something we can definitely talk about. Sure.
Dave, do you mind sharing with them the contact in the top right corner of the website, just where they can reach out and if they have recommendations for other variables or things
Sure,
that might
sure.
be beneficial, just like that last point? I think that'd be a great way to stay in touch.
Yeah. I showed this at the beginning, but if you guys hadn't seen it, if you're interested, yeah, like if you have suggestions for new variables or things like that, that would be fantastic. Any kind of feedback like that, we'll take all that into account and look at that as this project moves forward. So I would encourage you to do that. Yes, sir.
I did want to ask about using this resource. Second harvest food bank is a growing trend of creating partnerships and open home GIS apps. Would there be an opportunity or potential to streamline this data through API PowerPoint programs?
It's a possibility. The gentleman asked that there are, he works for the Second Harvest Food Bank, and that he's seen that his organization and some others are using GIS, and was wondering if there's a way to get this data through maybe an API or a data download, something along those lines. And it's really it's a case by case. We don't have a centralized site you can go to, but you know we have all this data in house. So if you need something specific or something like that, I would encourage you to get in touch, either the contact here or go to MapForsyth.org and just get my number, shoot me an email, and I'll be happy to help you out.
Thanks so much.
Sure. Sure. I'm going to pop over to the team, see if there's any questions in chat. Okay. Sorry about that, Ed. I didn't see the chat there. Okay. All right. Well, that is all I had. Is anybody in? Oh, sorry, man. Yes.
Do you mind going back to the map?
Sure. For foreclosures?
Yeah, Amy, one, I actually have a question about the shading. Does the shading represent the percent change, or is it like a comparative percent change, or how does that, like, what is that?
Yeah. So she's asking, what does the shading mean? Is it a comparative change or what's the methodology between that? And I think the shading has to do with the bigger the difference off the county average, which was what Russ was talking about. So the bluer it is, it's the county average. Let's see. Overall county level in 2013 was 18 houses per 1,000. So here it was 300 per 1,000. So that's why it's so much different there. But yeah, it's just, you have the county average, and the further it strays on this side, the bluer it is, the further it strays on that side. So it's not it's like percentage of how much it strays, like the Z value. Yes, foreclosure rate per 1,000 homes. And you can see that if you click on there, it'll stop the pop-up, so you can kind of scroll up and down. You can see what it was in 13 and see what it was in 2020 at the overall county level, and then you can also see at the tract level what it was in 2013 and 2020. Does that answer your question?
And Dave,
Russ?
I think that's a great point there. So on this map, what's really unlike a lot of the maps where there's a lot of noise, it's pretty specific here. There's 2 or 3 really dark blue census tracts that have not recovered to the same degree as the rest of the county. And so if you wanted to tackle, if you were a nonprofit, if you're a government agency, if you're a business wanting to do something around foreclosures, those couple really dark blue tracts are the ones where you would want to have your effort. Those are the where you're going to make the biggest difference in potentially changing the outcome that is occurring for people that live in homes in that area.
Yeah. And, just a couple examples, if you're a nonprofit looking to do some employment training, for example, say, well, where do I focus my efforts on? You could go to unemployment rates, for example. Say, if I wanted to focus and do some job training or do some outreach efforts to increase employment, this would be a good area to look at, along with some of these others here. A business owner who say he owns a construction company and he goes around replacing windows and doors, does rehab work like that. I mean, there's a lot of variables in here where he could do focused advertising or do some canvassing or hand out some flyers, under built environment. You could look at property conditions, for example. Percent of residential properties in below average condition. So if I ran a business like that, you'd see pretty clearly where you could focus your efforts on. Or if you had just a limited budget for advertising, do some targeted mailings, things like that. You could also look at something like code and zoning violations. So again, the central area down here. The other thing you could look at would be residential housing age. The older the houses are, generally the more work they will need. So, that's just one example. So you could use this for. Yes, ma'am.
So I have 3 slightly interconnected thoughts.
Okay.
One is this, as Abby pointed out, this is all a lot of this is pre-pandemic data, and I know it was a heavy lift to get to this point, but I mean, at this point, it's a lot of it. You look at it, and you're like, yeah, but the world has really changed in the last 3 years. What's your timeline for kind of trying to update the data to get some of that pandemic infused?
Yeah, so this next year, we're going to update as many variables as we can. The exact list hasn't been determined yet, but we're working in conjunction with CDI and Russ and Spatial Justice Studio to say, okay, these are the ones that we need to get updated. So, and if you have suggestions on prioritizing those also.
So this year you would prioritize like a certain,
Yeah.
What is the 26 variables?
Yeah, well, it's over 40 variables. So obviously it's a little bit outside the scope of the project to update everything every year. So if there's, but we're welcome to feedback. So we're saying, well, this makes sense to do this year. This makes sense to do next year. So.
My other question is, have you shared this this is a great tool for Forsyth County. Have you shared this with NC Counts, which is the group that does work on the census statewide and works with census organizations across the state?
Don't believe so.
'Cause I think this should be a great tool for them to be able to point to.
What was the organization?
It's called NC Counts.
NC Counts.
It's the NC Counts Coalition. They work on.
Yeah, she asked if we share this data with the NC Counts Coalition, and I don't believe we do unless Russ, you know differently. And the other thing she
Yeah.
said, the other thing was, I apologize for those who didn't hear the question, was, how often do we update this data? A lot of this data is pre-COVID, and a lot of things have changed in the last couple of years since 2019. And, the answer to that is, it's outside the scope to do all the variables, but, we do as many as we can every year, keep them updated. So, and again, if they have ideas, if users have ideas about which ones to prioritize or which ones may be more important, they're welcome to fill out that contact form for us.
And my next question might be for Russ. This can be a really powerful tool, but I can also see it reinforcing trends rather than undoing them. Has there been a discussion anywhere about that phenomenon, or, this could just be another red line app? Basically, it can be used for good, but it can also be used to just perpetuate.
Did you hear that question?
I heard that whole thing, Dave, and I'm glad you point that out. One of the Spatial Justice Studio is focusing on addressing issues of spatial inequality across the county and the region, and educating people about how those discrepancies came to be. So we believe that this is a step forward from the 1.0 that Joseph started talking about of the original. If you go back and look at the distressed communities reports, there were 30, 40 maps that all showed every single part of East Winston being the worst on every single variable. And our goal in this effort was to not recreate those pictures, those impressions of what the community's like. And so if you look across all the variables, yes, there are real issues in certain census tracts in East Winston, but there are also opportunities and successes as well that are highlighted in some of the maps where they're doing better, where they're recovering. And so I think overall, we have problems in this community that need to be addressed, and these maps show those, but there's also problems in other outlying census tracts that maybe people didn't even realize existed, because we think, oh, everything's fine out in the northwest part or the southwest part or wherever it might be. So hopefully we've taken an even-handed approach, and we've tried to show not only the challenges that we all know exist, but also opportunities and success stories more evenly than the previous iteration of the project.
Great, thank you.
Sounds good. Anything else? Check chat one more time. All right. I think we're good to go. And thank you, Russ. I wasn't even sure you were going to be on the call, but appreciate you taking the time and going in depth and answering the questions and provide some clarification for us.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm actually getting ready to leave right now to go teach my class, but I'll put in the chat my email directly to me. If people want to reach out, they're more than happy. They also can reach out through that form you shared with, and happy to help people navigate this and improve it moving forward. And as you mentioned, the goal is in next year, in year 3 of the project. This year, we added some additional variables that we're finishing up to the map. And then in year 3, we're looking to update the existing about 35 variables to the most latest data that we can find. So that's the goal if we continue the partnership and collaboration with the county moving ahead. Thanks.
Thanks, Russ. Sure. Smith RM at wssu.edu. Okay. Well, with that, if there's nothing else, I think we're going to wrap this up. Again, thank you for spending a few minutes with us, both people in person and everybody online. And hopefully we got some value out of seeing this. And again, reach out if you have any questions. We're always open.